everybody, and welcome to Week in Review, a show we do here on the Dice Tower. We talk about all the different videos we put out over the last week. We give you short summaries and descriptions of them, and then if you want to say, hey, I'd like to see the whole thing, we have links in the description. Let's get started for this week.
Hey everybody, I'm Z Garcia. Here's what I did last week. So I reviewed Hijacked, which I gave a 6 out of 10 to. This is a semi-cooperative game in which you are trying to rescue some passengers from a hijacked plane sitting on the tarmac. It's a sci-fi futuristic setting. The cooperative or semi-cooperative thing, of course, is going to be a tricky one, but I think of all the games I've seen try to do it, this one does it the best. It's still just a 6 for me, but it is interesting that there is not that dichotomy of if I don't win, if I'm going to lose, and that loss means I'm dying, which many semi-cooperative games do, then nobody wins. In this one, I'm saving someone else. So I like that. It puts a little more emphasis on that theme. And the game is so simple. Roll a couple of dice, take a couple of actions, and move on with your turn. So I think it's a good one for folks that are not really deep into co-ops. This would be a good one to introduce to somebody without a lot of those preconceived notions. I reviewed Wonder Tales, which I gave 7.5 to. This is a small, two-player only button-shy game in which it's sort of a tile-laying game with cards. You're going to be placing these out on a grid. You are going to be scoring for adjacencies and these various things. Great artwork, lovely theme. Very in your face, certainly a mean little game, but one that you can pull out of your pocket, throw down on the table. You don't need a ton of space. You need a little space, but not too much. And just have a quick, fun game of this. Best 2 out of 3 is going to win it. I like it. It's cute. It's going to go over well, I think, with a lot of people, as long as you're okay with, like I said, a little direct confrontation. I reviewed Hooky, which I gave an 8 out of 10 to. This is a deduction/word game, which is very, very clever and very thinky. This one, I enjoy that it feels so distinct from so many games out there, even from other deduction games. If you enjoy Wordle and that kind of activity, and you want something thinky, or you want something very much that's going to challenge you, then I think Hooky is a really, really good one for you. And then lastly, I reviewed the Star Wars Outer Rim expansion, Unfinished Business, which I gave a 9 out of 10 to. It's a fantastic expansion. If you like the base game, this is an expansion I can wholeheartedly recommend. It's going to inject more interest, more encounters into the game, and give you a couple of interesting choices and options, rather, for how you go about playing the game. But even if you don't use those things, even if you don't want to use the advanced solo mode, which this includes, just everything else that gets added into the game to fatten it up, to give you more interest, to keep repeat card draws and that sort of thing down to a minimum, is worth it on its own. So a really, really good expansion. And that's it for me. I'll see you on the next one.
Hi, I'm Wendy Yee, and this week I reviewed 2 different games. The first game is Pass the Party Foods. This is a Phil Walker Harding game that's in his Joey line. And so they're for kids specifically. And this one I think is rated for a 7-year-old. But in my opinion, this is more of a 4 or 5-year-old game. It's going to teach that very basic strategy of how do I decide what different people need? And so I think it's cool. I think it's very fine. So I gave it a 6. The next one is Brazil Imperial. This is a 4X game, but it leans way more Euro, which is why I gave it a 7.5. I'm not super into heavy combat games, but I love the engine building, and I really enjoy the exploration and the growing, trying to figure out how to get your resources to work so you can flip over tiles and upgrade them, meeting objectives. I enjoy all of that stuff. And so the fact that there isn't too much military attacky things, you can do that. But there's not a lot of motivation to attack and to use your military a bunch. For me, that was only a plus. So 7.5 there. Anyway, so that's what I reviewed this week. Let's see who's next.
Week in review time. So, this week I took a look at Brazil with Chris and Wendy. This is a big game. It's kind of like a Civ game with a little bit of 4X type feeling to it, where you're building up buildings. I gave it a 6.5 overall. I think the game is okay. I don't think it's one that I'm going to come back to over and over again. I feel like a lot of it's very deterministic. If you want a game in that genre that doesn't have much luck at all in it, and you can kind of like strategize many, many turns out, maybe that's a kind of game for you. do. I like things that are a little bit more fluid and a little bit more interesting and a little bit more interactive. And so this one was not as much for me, but you might enjoy it. And then we also finally took a look at Inside Job. I had it on Week in Review last week, but there was an Inside Job done on the review and it was pushed back a week. So I'm going to talk about that again. I gave it an 8. It was a trick-taking game with social deduction in it. Gave me a feeling of like the crew, but there's people that are working against you. I enjoyed this a lot. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, that's what I took a look at this week.
Hey everyone, Chris here. This week I took a look at 5 games, the first of which was Pass the Party Food. This is the new Joey game from Phil Walker Harding. I gave this one a 6. It's my lowest rated of the 3 games here. It's just a kid's game. It's just too simple for me to really be that interested in it. It's okay, pass food around, try and collect sets of it. Next up, Inside Job. Again, there's a schedule change. It's still a 7. Social deduction, trick-taking game. It's good. I would recommend it. Next up, Brazil Imperial. I give a 7.5. This is one that I really enjoy what's going on. Fast, quick action selection. Some really fun movement around the board and building up a cool resource engine. Very light on the combat, very light on some of the X's of the 4X, but otherwise it's solid. It's quite good. I'm not going to come back to it all the time. Next up, Scribbly Gum. This I gave an 8. This is the highest rated of the Joey Games trilogy that came out. Just a really fun little flip and right game, flip and fill. Really fun, go around in directions. Definitely for young kids, but still engaging for me that I like more than some grown-up roll and write games. And lastly, Scarface 1920, I gave an 8. Surprising for me, that's a big over-the-top production, kind of gang warfare stuff going on. There's a lot of things I shouldn't like about it, but the core of it is so fun. I love building up an awesome gang and going out there and just selling some booze. I'm all about that. Sell the booze to the youngins. That's Memo Week.
Okay, everybody, these are the games that I reviewed this week. This week was not a particularly great week as far as high numbers for me, and really great games. So, spoiler alert, not a lot of 10s in this list. I only reviewed 3 games, and combined, they barely broke 10. All right, let's start off with the first one. This was a big kind of letdown. This is Corral. I was pretty excited about this because you kind of build pyramids as you go around. You're more being an architect. And you go around the board, following the master architect, building pyramids. And it looks very exciting. The components, again, are very nice on this. I like Mexica, which is as pyramids. I like the theme that goes into this. The gameplay was meh. I mean, it's kind of the embodiment of just fine, vanilla. It was like, it's kind of like you kind of go through and you're halfway through the game. You're kind of like, I get it. Yeah, I get it. This is fine. So anyway, that's going to give me, that's probably one of my lower ratings. It is going to be a 5.5 from me. It is one that I would probably, if someone set it up to play, I'd play it. I won't ever really seek it out. I don't really see it hitting the table really ever unless someone else brings it. So, all right, that is Corral. Now, Yawning Portal. This is another one. This is in the D&D universe. It's kind of based on the Yawning Portal, which is a famous place in Waterdeep where it's like the tavern where they have the portal and all the fun stuff happens. But this is not about all the fun adventuring stuff. This is about the adventurers come in and you have to feed them. So you have this big long table, you start putting down food and all that, and it's fun. You know, it's a fun idea that the food, the tokens on this are really, really good. The components are great, the crystals are great, the little food tokens are great. The artwork, actually, I don't mind the artwork itself. The artwork I like. The gameplay, no, it's not quite there. It's just kind of almost robotic in what you do. You only have a couple of actions, a couple of things to do. You put over and I thought this would have more of a Candy Crush cascading feel, and it did not. So this game, again, was fine. It was fine. I thought it was good. The people I played with a couple different groups of people, and they all were like, it was fine. They didn't hate the experience. They didn't love the experience. Definitely does not have a D&D, doesn't grab you for the D&D theme. But it was fine. I gave it a 6. So I think Tom came in a bit lower on that. But all right, so the next one is, this is oddly enough, this is going to be reviewed as a family weight game. And this is Minecraft Portal Dash. And my daughter loves Minecraft, as most kids do.
So this one I'm reviewing purely as a family weight game and how much that she likes it and all this. And it's a fun game. I mean, you're really moving around. You get to kill the Endermans and all the different Minecraft things. The best part, though, is when you build this little cube, this little box, and you start to slowly mine the things out of it, put them on the track, and use those as resources, and little things like that. I think it's clever. I think it's a clever game. I think getting through is pretty simple. So I didn't mind it. I liked it. I actually gave this a 6.5, which almost a 7, but honestly for my family, I think there's other ones that I would rather play. It was almost a 7 before coming in here, but I really thought about it, and I don't know how often at the table. But this one is fine. I do enjoy it, but I will come in at a 6.5 because it is a fun family game. And my daughter likes Minecraft, doesn't love it, but if your kids love Minecraft, then this right here they would love. You would probably go up a lot higher on this if you love the IP. But that was probably my favorite game of the week that I did play and did review. But those are the 3 games I reviewed.
Hey there, everybody. It's Mike DeLisio, and this week I reviewed 2 games. First up is Classic Art from designer Reiner Knizia. I gave this game a 7.5 out of 10. Classic Art is a game that definitely is making a little bit of a nod and a wink to a classic game called Modern Art, but they don't really play anything alike. In Classic Art, it's really a game of prediction. You're trying to predict how many cards of a particular type are going to be in one of 5 galleries around the board. It has some very nice tarot-sized cards with different types of artwork. A good game. I like it quite a bit. It's tough because I compare it to other Knizia games of a similar weight, but I definitely recommend it. And then I also reviewed Tiny Epic Vikings, which I gave an 8 out of 10. I was very happy with this one because there are a number of Tiny Epic games that I liked earlier on in the series, but there were several of the most recent ones that just did not work for me for one reason or another. But Tiny Epic Vikings I really liked. There's a little bit of a, kind of a thematic connection to Blood Rage, and I don't think that's by accident, but it definitely stands apart. It's its own game. Multi-use cards, some very clever things going on with Tiny Epic Vikings. I liked it quite a bit. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
This week, I took a look at 3 different games. First up was Hijacked, which I came in at a 6.5 on. I think that the semi-cooperation in this game works. I think it actually brings a balance to discourage that runaway leader, and it really makes you have to puzzle out where to put your points, because you don't want the points on the board, you need the board to be even points, but it's about banking points and playing them at the right time to snag that win. What really brought this score down, though, was just the accessibility of this game. The rulebook is really rough, and then the clarification online is still vague, and so I just find that this is one that would really benefit from a second edition. Just cleaning up that rule set, having a couple blind playtesters to iron out some of the rules and the explanations. But solidly, it's a good game. It just needs a little bit more. It's just a little rough around the edges, I'd say. So that's gonna be a 6.5 for me. Next up, I took a look at Scribbling Gum. This is a little family kid weight game, roll and write. I say actually a child's game, kind of. It's for ages 6+, and I think that I would really kind of cap this at maybe 8 years old. I came in at a 7. I would definitely recommend it for a kid during that age. There is enough interesting decisions, or seemingly interesting decision, as in you have a couple choices, but at the end of the day, you can always do something. It's really light, and I thought I would recommend it. I would play it, but it's not one that I would seek out over and over again. I'd happily play it, but probably not seek out playing it too often, just because it is so light. And then last, I took a look at Minecraft Portal Dash, coming from Ravensburger. I really enjoyed this game. I came in at an 8.5 on this one. I thought that this one did offer some really good decisions. I think the turns are very small, but you feel like you do a lot. There's multiple steps to it, and so you feel like you're taking a big turn, but time-wise, it's very small, and you really do have to cooperate with this. So I think it's a really good implementation of the theme for those families that are into this theme, but outside of the theme, it's just an interesting cooperative game. So that's Minecraft Portal Dash 8.5. That's it for me for this week. Let's keep going.
And finally, a lot of different reviews. Yawning Portal. This is a game I really wanted to like. a D&D game with amazing, amazing components, and it's just straight up boring. Not good for the name. 5 out of 10. Corral, another one I gave a 5 to, and I really want to like this game, but you play it once, and you've kind of seen it. There's not a lot more to it. So 5 out of 10. Linkto, this is an interesting game. I almost gave it a 7. I gave it a 6.5. There's a bunch of cards out on the table, and you are using clues to narrow down and find one of them. It's an neat concept, and I'm okay playing it, but you can only play it 5 times, and that's it. And I don't know that I would pay money for it. That's the thing. I'm like caught up in that. Super Mario Labyrinth. Me and my son played this. We had a lot of fun with the Super Mario version of this game. 7 out of 10. Holotype, a dinosaur worker placement game that does not involve the running and the screaming. 7 out of 10. Snapshot, a little game about taking pictures, pushing your luck. I was amused by this little filler type game. Another 7 out of 10. Scarface 1920. What a grandiose, beautifully produced, mobster epic game. I gave it an 8. It has amazing highs, but it also has some crazy randomness that keeps me from giving it like a 9 or a 10. But I still really enjoy the experience. Inside Job, a trick-taking social deduction game where the trick-taking almost seems secondary to the social deduction and does it in a cool way. I think it's a neat spin on both genres, 8.5. Really like that one. And Hooky. Oh man, this is my favorite game I played last week. Deduction game, kind of Wordle, but just pure, straight deduction. Such a great, fun game. For me, at least, I love deduction. 9 out of 10. And I'm going to rank the van an 11 out of 10 because we did a video where we showed off the new Dice Tower van. We want to thank everybody. We're really excited about that and being able to take that on trips and things like that. I also took a look at the Gamma Trade Show and the American Game and Puzzle Association. I went to 2 different things, so I did some overviews of both of them. I talked about the best-selling games that Game Nerds did in March 2022, and we started our new series of where we play game shows and party games with people live, and that is Random Ruckus. So check that out. We also did our normal shows: Board Game Smorgasbord, Board Game Breakfast, Crowd Surfing. So lots of fun things for you to check out. And that's what came out in the Dice Tower last week. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I'm Tom Vassell, and this has been Week in Review.